Welcome to In Residence, a podcast from Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles. I'm Elizabeth Rawls, the publisher.
And I'm Lauren Iverson, the editorial director.
In this mini-series, we'll speak with the features and the legends of interior design here in Atlanta.
You can find each of our interviewees in our print edition of Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles throughout the year or online at atlantahomesmac.com.
Come on in.
Welcome to the In Residence podcast. Today's guest is someone whose work has profoundly shaped the architectural landscape of the Southeast. Norman Askins, founder of Norman Davenport Askins Architects, has spent nearly 5 decades designing homes that honor classical tradition while feeling livable and enduring. Come on in and hear his story. Norman, thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to have you on our In Residence podcast. We have a lot to cover, but this is a really big year coming up for you in 2027. I think you're celebrating your 50th anniversary.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you've just been named an Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles Legend of Design, and so many more exciting things happening for you, which we're going to chat all about. But I kind of want to take it back to the beginning and talk a little bit about your upbringing.
Sure, absolutely.
I know you were raised in Birmingham around a million beautiful historic homes, architectural details. I know that some of those homes were some of your own families, extended families, whether it's, classic Greek revivals, Victorians, such like that. So tell me a little bit about how your interest in architecture sparked.
Well, I guess I've been interested my entire life. I even decided I wanted to be an architect by 10 years old, which is amazing. Then I stuck with it. I had a moment where I got off the bandwagon in 1953 when I watched Queen Elizabeth's coronation, and I told my mother I wanted to be King of England. I changed my mind, and she said, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe you better stick to architecture.
A boy can dream, right?
Yeah, right. So anyway, that was my only bump in my career. But anyway, so and my family was very supportive. My mother was always been interested in design and antiques and furniture, and so I was constantly being dragged around to different houses, and because I was interested. And my grandmother lived in a small town in Alabama, and with I think 100 Greek revival houses. Mm-hmm. She lived in one, and my aunt lived in another one, and it was so fun, And one aunt lived in a arts and crafts house, and so I was exposed from day one. My grandfather in Florida lived in a Victorian house in Fernandina, which is such a completely different kind of house. And so I had I just was always interested. And then I got on my bike and I lived on my bicycle. And so I would ride around looking at the new houses and going through them. And then there were lots of Birmingham has beautiful houses. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, but I think it's much more, people are more aware of it now than they used to be. So absolutely. Full of great houses. So I was always interested in old houses my entire life. So it was just a natural thing, and I've always stuck with it. And fortunately, I got in Georgia Tech, and that was great. Modernist school, you understand. So, and then I went on to UVA and got architectural history degrees because I was always interested in history. And then I worked at Williamsburg, which, of course, was the most amazing thing in the world to work in the architect's office. So we got to work on a lot of historical stuff. So that's kind of the way it went. And by the time I ended up in Atlanta again in 1977, I was well equipped to get ready to go. That's when I started my practice.
Right. So what kind of encouraged you to come from all of these different locales to Atlanta?
Well, a friend of mine who was also interested in architecture, when we'd come south, I lived in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania at the time, outside Philadelphia, and he told me one time we would stop to visit with them on the way to Birmingham from Atlanta. You had to stop in Atlanta for everything. Right. So he told me, he said, Norman, I know for a fact that, there are not going to be many classical people left in Atlanta. Shutze is not working. Jimmy Means is, toward the end of his career, and all these people that had been around for years, and he said, this is the perfect time for you to come to Atlanta. Yep. So we went back to Pennsylvania. I fixed up my house, kept fixing it up, and we just moved to Atlanta in Colonial Homes. And after 4 months, I was on my own. I got to teach at Georgia Tech a little bit, and I had instantly had clients. It was a miracle, total miracle.
Right. I feel like that doesn't happen for everyone so
No,
quickly in their career.
well, I had made some good connections in
Yeah.
Atlanta, and I was the only one in Atlanta qualified to do historic preservation,
Yeah.
and only one really in Georgia. So the state of Georgia got me a lot of work through them because they needed, preservation. Preservation was real hot
Yeah.
then, and so I got to do a lot of small projects, but that paid the rent, and it was great. So
That
it worked
hands-on.
out, and then I got more and more. I got my first big house on Habersham. I made a sign, huge 3 by 5 foot sign, and on a busy street like that, that really helps. A name recognition.
That's how you grow at
Well,
that
I
day and
know.
age as
I mean, you
well.
can't just sit back and you got to go for it. So then
Exactly.
I got other projects, and it was amazing.
Exactly.
I've always been shocked.
Well, that early influential time in your life, I'm sure it had a lot of influence as you were going.
Oh yeah.
And as you were in Atlanta, you mentioned some of the architects that were around at the time, including Philip Shutze,
Yeah.
which I feel like, he's revered here in Atlanta. People love him. They
Yeah.
know his houses, they know his buildings and
everything.
such. And at this day and age, he feels kind of almost like this, like lore or so, this person who existed and was on this ginormous pedestal. But it wasn't so long ago that he was here and working in the city, and you actually saw him around in
Well,
Atlanta.
when I was at Tech, my professors, it was a very modernist school, but
Yeah.
there were still these old timers there who had grown up in doing traditional stuff. So they encouraged me, to go meet him. So I thought, well, what the hell? So I called him up one day. He was in the Candler building downtown, and I called him up and I said, can I come down and meet you? I'd like to meet you. I'm a big fan of yours. And he didn't quite know what to say, but he said, sure, come on. So I went down there expecting, I mean, he looked just like I thought he'd look, sitting in an office the size of a postage stamp, and all he had was stacks of magazines, and that's all he did all day. He wasn't working. He just was reading Connoisseurs des Arts, that English magazine, and Country Life, and all those magazines. I don't think he was busy at all. But anyway, so I thought he would be interested, the fact that I was interested in him and classical architecture. And then he told me, he said, well, you'll never be a good architect because you are going to a modernist school.
Oh my God.
Of course, there was no choice.
Yeah.
Everybody was modernist by the 60s.
Yep.
So anyway, I just kind of ignored that and kept on going. And then I also met Jimmy Means, another wonderful architect. Jimmy Means was his draftsman. So he knew Jimmy. I don't think he had a college degree. I don't think he had a degree in architecture, I should say. But he did great looking houses. And I used to go see him occasionally. He was on East Paces Ferry, and I'd go up and chat with him. He's so nice, real nice guy, wanted to talk. And when I first started my practice, he was so generous to me and said, if you need anything, where to get old wood, where to get old bricks, beams, just call me and I'll tell you the sources. I mean, he couldn't have been nicer. And he died within a year or so after I met him. So that was real sad.
Oh, yeah.
But he was so nice to me, and he didn't have to be at all.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I know that that's kind of how you try to be with people
Yeah.
as well, kind of this
Oh,
next
yeah,
generation.
yeah.
But going back to that a little bit from the beginning of your childhood influences and then having, your schooling and then moving to Atlanta and starting your firm. And it was in 1977, I believe. You've done so much, but you've also been able to see those early years in the 70s and how Atlanta has transitioned and
Oh, yeah.
evolved.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
So you've really gotten a front row seat to that. Neighborhoods have changed, tastes have changed, everything has changed. So tell us a little bit about that evolvement.
Well, when I came to start my practice, Williamsburg style was still hot as a firecracker, but it was just it was beginning to fade. So I started out working, more in American, colonial kind of influence, and that's what people really wanted, and they loved it at the time. But it got overdone,
Right.
as everything else does. So then the next kind of style was French. I noticed that was the next thing, and so I was, I'd been to France and all that. So and I collected books like crazy. So books are everything.
Yeah.
Nowadays they have the internet, but back then they didn't have it. So anyway, so I loved all that too because it was classical. It's
Right.
all the same thing, just changing the details.
Right.
Basically the same rules and everything. So I did a lot of stuff in the French style. Then it evolved on into ugly, a lot of ugly stuff, which I wouldn't.
There's always a time,
which I
right?
wasn't interested in. So we ended up doing. So I self-taught myself really, and that's why I had so many employees. I have 25 firms out of my firm now, and so I think I didn't. Nobody taught me how to do the classical stuff, so I taught myself. And but I mean, I learned a lot. Of course, in my education, I learned a lot, but also I read a lot, traveled a lot, that kind of thing, which really helps. And so I think I became, when I had employees that didn't know one thing, like Young Pack was one of my second employee, and he got off the bus one day and walked to my house, and he was a baby, right out of school. And so he didn't know the first thing about classical architecture, but I don't even know how he knew about me. But anyway, I told him to sit down at that table and let's get working. He said, when can I start? I said, right now, sit down, take your coat off. So he was an extremely quick learner. I mean, he caught on real fast, and he was passion's everything, really, in our profession. And I think a lot of people don't do that well because then they have no passion about what they do, and they kind of will just, okay, that'll do, But I mean, we've always researched everything, and I've got, see, back in the day, I had no one to talk to because I was sort of by myself. So what's so fun now, I've got Notre Dame guys. Over the years, I've had all these wonderful influences coming into my office that I would have never had before. And like these Notre Dame guys are amazing. They see things differently than I do. And we all see the same thing, but I mean, they have a different approach to everything, which is great.
Yeah.
And all my employees have brought different information, different things to my office, which is so wonderful because think we kind of specialize in not specializing in any particular style. We do Italian stuff, Tudor, cottages. We do lots of I love cottages. We do a lot of mountain stuff. We do beach stuff, just everything. So that's been made by, I think my practice is very rich that we can do different things and don't stick to only one style, which so many people do.
Absolutely.
And I refuse to be trendy. I think that's the other thing. I think that's a lesson for these young people. Don't fall into this trend stuff because it's not going to last. And then you get stuck, with some style that nobody wants anymore.
Well, that's so unfortunate because you do see some of these houses these days that are being built and designed, and 5 years down the road, it's already feeling dated. And so you put in all this effort and money and time into these homes that then you're going to have to revisit, make it a little bit more classic that can stand the test of time.
Oh, and I see them. I remember when so many houses in Atlanta were built, and they were thought to be a wonderful thing at the time, and now they're being torn down left and right because they were so ugly.
Right.
Just plain ugly. There's no other word for it.
So the lesson is just do things pretty and it will last.
Well, just stick with the classics, and you'll. And even today, of course, we do more modern classicism. More today. I mean, nobody wants a slavishly original house like they did when I started. They loved all the French interiors and the English interiors that we did. I mean, I loved it too, but people don't want that anymore as much.
Yeah.
It's so even my old clients who are now moving to smaller places or apartments, we do a lot of those, and they want it kind of simplified, and I call it younged up, so it doesn't look like old lady looking, because nobody wants that.
I love it. Well, you can still do, and that's kind of something that I love that I'm seeing people embrace more, is you can have these traditional classic homes that have a modern edge to them that maybe live better for today.
Absolutely.
And that's possible to do it, but you've got to trust in the experts who know how to craft that for you to make it feel seamless.
And houses now, back of house has become hugely important, like dog dining rooms and, mail rooms, Costco rooms, Martha Stewart rooms, all that kind of stuff that people want, drop-offs, for their children to drop off their sports equipment, all their clothes. Don't leave it on the island in the kitchen.
Right.
So the tail wagging the dog is really true today, and everybody wants really nice master bedrooms and bathrooms, and the kitchen's the new living room. So everybody's adjusting that. Look at this house.
Absolutely.
And so everybody wants, you can't keep people out of the kitchen. There's no way. So make it nice.
It's the
Put the
best
ugly
advice.
stuff in the back kitchen and shut the door, and
Oh, yeah.
and everybody thinks you're perfect.
Exactly. Well, I think I need a dog dining room in my future
You do.
house because
You do.
that sounds like the best thing ever.
Well, there's a mess.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
a mess.
Always.
And so sometimes we even slope the floor and have a slot drain where you can actually hose the dog off,
That's true
and hose
luxury.
the floor off.
It's true luxury.
Why not?
Well, I think we brushed over something a little bit too quickly that I
What was
want to
that?
go back to. And the fact that you said you have 25 firms
Yeah.
that have come out after after they've worked underneath of you.
Well, I basically, I think because I had to teach myself,
Yeah.
I love teaching other people. So I become kind of like a teacher. And I've learned that unlike so many firms, they don't want the employees to be involved with the clients. I think that's ridiculous. I think, why not have them involved with the clients? And that's how you learn.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know even who works in the firm. I love for them to go to the job site and know the contractor, and know the clients.
Yeah.
And so you learn, that's how you learn. And so that's why they end up having, in my office, end up having little mini firms within the firm, even though I'm still very involved, but that allows them to move out on their own.
Gives them a platform of
Yeah,
sorts.
and I'm always, we're all friends still, pretty much, and I still like all my employees, and they've gone from Massachusetts to the Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
They're got practices everywhere.
That's amazing.
And
And
they-
some of those people are Stan Dixon,
Oh yeah, Stan,
Young Pack, Bill Litchfield, just some of the Atlanta people.
all kinds of people in
Yeah.
Atlanta. Yeah, which all are doing great. I'm all proud of all of them. They all do a good job.
You talk a little bit, about these firms that have come out from you and your business working with you, but you have a really fantastic team internally, like you kind of mentioned.
I'm very
And
lucky.
You have Jeffrey on
Yeah.
your team who had prompted you to rebrand
Oh, yeah.
recently as Norman Davenport Askins Architects, plural, which
Yeah.
is the first time in almost 50 years that you've
Well,
rebranded.
I've never
and
had
such.
a partner. He's my partner
Yeah.
now, and he's buying my business actually.
Tell us more about it.
So on my 50th anniversary, which will be next year, we're going to kind of change the name of the firm, and then I don't know exactly what we're going to do. We hired somebody to help us figure
Yep.
out how to do it, but it's not going to be a big splashy thing. It's just going to be a transition, from one generation to another. But I'm planning to work till I croak. I want to die on my drafting board, if possible, if I can arrange that.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah, I still work every day,
I love it.
and I love every minute of it. It's just fun.
Absolutely.
When it's not fun anymore, I'll quit.
And that day, I would like to see
It's
when
not
that
going
day
to happen
comes.
because every day is still fun. Some days are not perfect, but
Right.
mostly it's fun.
Well, we're talking so much about these different architects in the industry, and right now, I feel like there's kind of a boom with the next generation of
It's
designers,
amazing. It's wonderful.
architects.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they would be eager to hear some advice from you just about how to stand out from the
Well,
crowd.
it's the hardest. It's really hard, I think. I feel like while we all look at trends, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't look at all the magazines. Of course I do. And we all do. And it's fun. And I think you have to try not to get caught up in all the trendy stuff. You can kind of do your own thing and get it cleaner and not so, avoid trends. I think decorators tend to be that way as well. They go for what's selling, which everybody understands that.
Yeah.
But still, you can do it a little bit better than everybody else, hopefully, and not fall into, the pitfalls of, things that just 5 years later you're going to hate.
Right.
You know-
And there's
you know.
many things that I'm sure would be into that category
Oh,
there that
so
you
many.
see often.
So many.
It makes me twitch a little when I see it, and I'm like,
I
I have nothing to say.
No, it's just what is everybody's, but some clients really want the latest thing.
Right.
That's what they love and understand. They don't get the big picture sometimes, I think.
Well, over the course of, all these years, you've clearly transcended any trends. You have a body of work that's grown tremendously. You have projects all over the country, potentially in other parts of the world as well,
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
guessing.
I do.
So what would you say is maybe a project that stands out as a highlight for you?
It's just so hard to say because I love the people and I love the projects. It's just really hard to say, but I guess I've got two that were two of my most difficult, I wouldn't say difficult, most challenging projects have been one of them is in France, incredible house that I did with Bunny Williams, which is amazing. And that was so much fun, but I had to do everything metric. And I could do metric. You can get your brain going with metric. It's hard, but you can do it. And we worked with an architect over there, so I did all the design work, and they drew it up, and they were great to work with. But it was a major challenge,
I can imagine.
and I never went to see the building
What?
until 3 years later. We went to lunch there with my daughter and my wife and all that. It was really fun.
How did that feel to be in it and standing
It
there
was
and
unbelievable.
seeing?
I was supposed to go 2 or 3 times, and then things, for some reason, I never went. But I
Yeah.
had great pictures, and the builder was great, and everybody's great. No English, of course, so that
Right.
was another challenge because you use that translation app, and Lord knows what
That can
comes
get you
out.
in trouble
Ooh,
sometimes,
big
right?
trouble. But anyway, it all worked out. It turned out great, and there were no problems at all. Then another one we did, I'd actually Stan and I did it together in my office. This gigantic project in Ireland was a golf club that it was the big at the time. It was the biggest project in Western Ireland. So it was this huge golf club with lots of people that had bought apartments there, and then a lot of condos. So we did everything, and Jackie Lanham was the decorator. So we were quite a team.
The dream team there.
We had the
Yeah.
best time. It was so much fun, and oh my gosh, you can't imagine how much fun it was.
I'd like to be on that project
Yeah,
with
it was
y'all.
great. And then it was just outrageous, but it was fun. We loved it. And
Oh,
we
wow.
did go over there like, I think 6 or 7 times, but I never saw it finished, but I will one day.
Well, you got to go play around or
I
something.
know I can't, I don't play golf, but anyway, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And the Irish were a real challenge because they were famous for not being on time.
Right.
So we would kill ourselves to get ready to go, and then we go over there, and they hadn't done what they said they would do, that
Oh
kind
my
of thing.
gosh.
But it was okay. It all worked out.
Well, also managing that from the other side of the pond too
Well,
overall is
it
tough.
I don't know how it worked, but it did.
And it always works out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything always works out in
Well,
the
we
end.
had a lot of people working on it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, and Jackie was there for, I think, 3 or 4 months putting it together.
How amazing is she?
She's amazing.
She
And
was interviewed this morning on our
Yeah,
podcast as
yeah.
well. So you guys are back to back. I know you're great friends. So
oh yeah, we did tons of work together. It was fun.
well, you've done so many different projects, like I said, across the world. You've worked with incredible people that you're mentioning here, including Jackie as
Yeah.
one of them and many more. What really still excites you about architecture today?
Well, I mean, we just get so many challenges. People call up and want some, like we just finished a house at Sea Island that, I mean, they didn't know what they wanted exactly. So they just wanted some, but they expect us to do something really interesting. These people are not like everybody else. They're really into it. We've done several projects for them already. So Jeff decided to get on the bandwagon. He's from Florida, so he went to St. Augustine, and they have all this earlier, real early Spanish, architecture there.
Yeah.
And so the whole house was inspired by St. Augustine. And so we created the storyline that at Sea Island there was this old kind of early Spanish building that was there, and it was falling down, but we left some of the walls and built around it. So we have, inside we have stucco walls, coquina walls that were really brand new, but it looks like it was part of an old house. It is the coolest thing. It's got a balcony on the second floor, like so many St. Augustine houses had, and it's stuck on the bottom and wood on the top. We really studied it, and it's the coolest thing.
I can imagine. It's fun to hear you talk about these projects and you
Yeah.
can just see the light in your eye
Yeah,
and how
but
excited you get about it.
It was just so, and the clients are the kind of people that, I mean, we're doing another house for them right now, And so they challenge you without saying a word. You just know you're challenged to come up with something totally amazing.
Right.
And fortunately, they love what we do. So, but that's a rare thing that you got somebody that challenges you to that degree.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about that actually, because that's something that I know a lot of professionals in the industry deal with is clients challenging them, whatever big challenges, big or
Yeah,
small. Like,
yeah.
how do you approach those instances?
Well, I'm just used to it. I mean,
Yeah.
well, first of all, the key thing in this business is you've got to listen. And I hear from so many people say, well, you didn't listen to me. Well, I never get that because I write down notes. I listen to everything. Try to ask all the right questions, how people live, what they like, don't like, blah, 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 all that usual stuff. And then I put a lot of thought into it. And believe it or not, I hit it usually on the first design pretty close,
And that's on
which
years
is a
and
miracle,
years.
a
Yeah.
miracle.
Practice and
So,
listening.
but you have to listen and you
Yeah.
have to pay attention to the property, the which way it faces, north, south, east to west. That makes all the difference. You have to pay attention to views, everything. You have to just really think it through before you give them something, because otherwise you look like a moron. And actually, this morning before I left the office, Jeff had just come back from seeing some people, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you listened to what we said." And he said, "Well, of course I did. That's what I'm supposed to do." And their previous architect did something completely bizarre that had nothing to do with what they wanted. So, but you got to listen, and you don't have to agree with everything, but you can talk people into not doing things that just are ridiculous.
Right.
Usually.
Right. That's
Usually.
why you trust the experts.
It's hard, but that's what you can do it.
Yeah,
It's not easy.
absolutely.
So that's
Well,
part of the game.
absolutely. And I think you're probably an expert at it at
Well,
this point.
I try to be, yeah. And most people we're still friends usually.
Yeah.
Almost 99% of the time we're friends when it's over. And now I'm doing multi-generational, people's grandchildren.
Absolutely. That's got to be a lot of fun too.
It's crazy, but yeah.
Oh.
And then a lot of people say, well, you're getting so old. I grew up in one of your houses. You've got to do a house for me. I said, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's
It's so funny.
special.
I know. I love it.
I love it.
I'm doing one right now. A girl grew up one of my houses. She said, I've got to have you work on this house.
Well, you're going to be in the list of the Jimmy Means and the Philip Schutzes one day, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know about that, but but anyway, I've had a really fun career. I mean, I don't think anybody has as much fun as I do. I love it.
that. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah,
Well,
you got to have fun,
absolutely.
and you have to take it seriously, but you still got to have fun.
Definitely. Well, kind of to that, no, I do want to bring it a little bit full circle for myself
Sure.
personally here. The last time that I had interviewed you was in 2022
That's right.
for your ICAA
That's right.
Lifetime Achievement Award. And that was the first time I had interviewed you. And we were on the phone for an hour and a half perhaps, and I had ended the interview with the question of, what's on the horizon for Norman Askins. And your answer to this day has always stuck with me because it was so simple, but it just held so much prominence to it. And you said, just keep on keeping on. And I feel like that's such a testament to, if you do what you love and what you're passionate about, you can do it forever. You said that yourself earlier.
I agree.
And so I'd like to end this interview with just asking the same thing. And I know you've touched it on a little bit already, but what's next for Norman Askins?
I was willing to let my practice just stop one day. And then I thought, well, that's just ridiculous, because so then Jeff was in my office, and he's one of the only people that I felt like he has the same approach to things that I do. And he's real wise for his age. And so we just get along perfectly. So I thought, well, this will be a perfect thing. I love his family, and he's got a great wife, and she's an architect too, and 2 children. So he just seemed like the perfect person. And so I approached him with the idea, and I think he was thrilled to death. So sounds like we'll keep going
I love it.
for another, which is rare.
Yeah.
Usually it doesn't work.
It's
Very few firms last to the next generation.
Right. And it's a legacy that's going to keep on
Yeah,
going.
and why wouldn't it? We're having fun, and now I'm going to start including his name so he becomes, everybody knows him now, but a lot of people, don't necessarily know him.
Absolutely. Well,
So that's what my goal is now for the next year or so, is to let him become visually more of a part of my business.
absolutely. Well, we're
But I'm not planning on
excited.
stopping anytime soon.
Never. I know you'll
Never.
croak out on that
It's
desk,
too
like you
much
said.
fun. Too much fun.
I love it. Well, Norman, thank you so much for
Okay.
sharing your perspective and
my
more of
pleasure.
your story.
It's my pleasure.
We've loved having you today.